This is Mars Gaming and welcome back to another video on Elder Scrolls Online. Today I'm bringing you a Magicka DK tank build called the Bountiful Dragon Guard. Let me show you my setup first. I'm running a 5-piece Willow's Path. The sword is decisive with a reduced physical and spell resistance enchant on it. Decisive mainly for the extra ultimate when I use Earth and Heart abilities. I'll tell you about that later. In my the Willow's Path, it gives you extra recovery on all pieces. And what I'm using on my back bar currently, what I have equipped, I'm running His Spark for the extra resistance, health and health recovery, as well as the major evasion. This is basically my safety bar. And I'm also running a 4-piece Storm Knight's plate set for the extra spell resistance. I wanted to choose this setup because it was something different than the norm, like Plague Doctors and Ebon and stuff like that. I just wanted to make something different. Also, it's a 5 and a 2, and it's a 5 and a 2 piece. Basically 5 heavy and 2 light for the Magicka regen, and all my pieces are sturdy. I left them blue purposely for the newer, so I can show that it works very effectively even if it's a low quality of armor piece. This setup is mainly for newer players, not for anyone who's much more experienced, but it's more of an introductory set for newer players so they understand resistances, sustainability, all that jazz, as well as my jewelry though. Let me show you my jewelry enchants. I'm running reduced cost on the necklace. I'm gonna reduce block cost on the necklace. This is I like this much better than what I was running. I was running all spell damage, but I prefer that reduced cost. I'm not gonna be killing anything, but I'll be surviving through most of everything, as well as providing utility. I'm also running 1 reduced stamina cost and 1 reduced magicka cost, since this build is pretty much a hybrid tank. Let me show you my character sheet. Unbuffed, this is the back bar with 18,000 magicka, 20,000 stamina, and 27,000 health, as well as magicka recovery, health recovery, and stamina recovery is around 600 to 700 in total. And the spell resistance is around 26k, and 22,000 physical resistance unbuffed. When I buff its maximum spell resistance, well, close to maximum spell resistance, about like almost 1,000 less than cap, and a few thousand on physical resistance, close to cap. So you'll pretty much stay alive on the back bar. The front bar, the recovery is around 868. Magicka recovery, health recovery is around 981, but I can get 1,000 health recovery once I pop up Green Dragon's Blood. And stam recovery is at 730. This is mainly where you're doing all your gathering all the mobs and whatnot. Now let's go into skills. I'm gonna show you my front bar first. We're in Choking Talons with the one that gives minor maim, so it reduces the enemy's attack damage. Cinder Storm, so I snare all the enemies in front of me. Draw Essence for when I need to heal and it's just a whole bunch of enemies in front of me, and I get the magic back on the second exhale. On the exhale, when I inhale I heal, I exhale I deal damage and get magic back. Burning Embers, this is basically the equivalent of Rally, so you just put it on a few enemies and hit it again whenever you need to heal. And Ransack, I chose Ransack over Heroic Slash just for the minor resolve, so I can get closer to that cap on physical resistance, because you're gonna need just a little bit more physical resistance since I'm not running a full 7-piece heavy armor. And it's one of the only taunts in game. You kind of have to need, it's either Ransack or Pierce Armor. You can't go wrong with both. And I run Ferocious Leap just so I get that damage shield, and it's a pretty easy ultimate to get to, especially when you're constantly dropping Cinder Storms, since it's the Earth and Heart ability. And on my front, this is my back bar, pretty much my defense bar. I'm running Green Dragon's Blood as my healing. Volatile armor as my base armor, well, armor mitigation, and fiery grip for when I want to pull like the range DPS towards me. Or you can switch this out for, let's see. If I had to switch this out, I would switch this out for Obsidian Shard for utility purposes, for when I need an extra heal or when someone else needs an extra heal. Or where is it? Defensive posture, when it's like just getting beat on all the time, and I feel like I need to keep my stamina up a bit more. That's what I would switch out for that. And Bone Shield for that extra synergy, in case an ally needs an extra synergy for defensive purposes, and the Igneous Shield for healing, and also defensive purposes. I'm gonna go through the Ardent Flame passives. Aren't too important. They just elongate the effects of the Ardent Flame abilities, like Burning Embers, so they're not too important. But Draconic passive abilities are very important. I'm gonna go over the passives first. The Iron Skin passive increases the amount of damage you can block. Burning Heart increases your healing received. This one has to be the most important one, because it increases your healing by 12% every time a draconic ability is activated. For example, if I need a serious heal, since Igneous Shield has major mending, that's 25%, which is all in good. But if you really need a boosted heal, hit Igneous Shield. Make sure your volatile armor is up, so that's extra 12%, so that's about 37. And then pop Green Dragon's Blood. That's another draconic ability, so that increases to about 50% extra healing. And then if you're and then you can switch back to your front bar. That's another 12%, and then even boosted even further by hitting Draw Essence, which is another 12%. So that's very close to almost 75, or even more than that. That's a lot of healing. Or even if you're really feeling spicy, Ferocious Leap. That's another draconic passive ability, so that's another 12% of healing. So you can live through almost anything. Let's see, draconic. The next ability is Elder Dragon, just for the extra health recovery, which goes very well in tandem with like the Nord passives, which I'll get to later. Then there's Scaled Armor, which increases your spell resistance. It's really great for this setup because I'm running the Storm Knight set, which gives you double the spell resistance, which pretty much negates almost most spells. Well, not negates it, but it mitigates them very well once all your armor is up. Let's go back to skills. Now, Earth and Heart abilities. I'm using Magma Shell. Magma Shell is pretty much your oh shit button. Everybody's about to die and I need to save the squad. This pretty much makes you completely invulnerable, and it gives you, since it costs ultimate, I'll get to the passive in a second. It'll give you all your healing, stamina, and magicka back that you're missing. Not to mention, since it's an Earth and Heart ability, it'll give you even more stamina back. And plus, the damage shield it provides is almost better than any other damage shield in game. Especially for your teammates, that is. You don't get a damage shield. You get pretty much you get an armor. Your armor is increased by a ridiculous amount. Now let's go to the passives. Eternal Mountain, it increases all your Earth and Heart ability durations, so it just lasts longer. You need to finish that because it's very important. The most important skill on the Earth and Heart skill tree is Battle Roar. If you don't have Battle Roar, you are tanking. You're doing everything a DK. You're pretty much not being a DK. You're pretty much being everybody else. You need Battle Roar. Without Battle Roar, you're not doing anything that's helping you, because you can't keep up your sustain forever. Everything you do is building up for Battle Roar. Mountain's Blessing, it gives you minor brutality for your melee DPS. So like anytime you pop this, you help your team out and give them more weapon damage. It's not spell damage, unfortunately, but there's another ability you can use for that. And it also generates ultimate. This is very important. This is a very important ability, even though it got nerfed, because the faster you get ultimate, the better. You'll sustain forever if you keep your ultimate up. And helping hands. Helping hands, basically every time, let me use some stamina up just by running. Every time you use an Earth and Heart ability, you get stamina back. So you can block and just keep doing Earth and Heart abilities. And that'll keep you alive. Or keep your stamina up, I mean. Your sword and board, you should always have Fortress and a sword and board for the extra damage. This build isn't meant for damage, it's meant for survivability and taking damage so everybody else can kill bosses. That's the job of a tank. You should get all these other abilities, but these two are the most important right now. Let's see. Light armor. I went for the top two trees most importantly. I run this is for different setup, but this is mainly why I added light armor for the extra recovery. I went to full 3 in recovery of the passive. So it's an extra 8%, and then evocation for reduced magicka cost. It's pretty self-explanatory. I did not use any medium sets for this setup because I didn't feel like I needed. I'm running all sturdy. I don't really need all that much stamina. And heavy armor. Oh yeah. Also, there's besides all the constitution and other stuff like that. I mean, constitution. Every time you get hit, you get resources back. You get extra armor. You get extra health recovery. And then there's Wrath, so it stacks up to about 200 damage. That's why Wrath is good. It stacks up weapon and spell damage, so it pretty much keeps you topped off with the damage. And oh, also your damage also equates to how much healing you can do. It'll stack that up as well. Rapid Mending, this also stacks with all your other healing abilities on your Draconic passive because it's technically not a Draconic passive ability. So for example, like if I'm really low health, I can block, hit an Igneous Shield, then Draconic passive, and then Green Dragon Blood, then hit Dark Talons, and then draw Essence. And that's so much healing in one combo. Moving on, Mage's Guild abilities. I'm not going to be using any Fighter's Guild abilities. I don't really need to. But Mage's Guild, I'm probably either going to be running Mage Light for that extra crit rating so I can crit heal, and Entropy so I'll get the higher spell damage every time I use it. But mainly it's for this passive here, Magicka Control. It increases your Magicka recovery. Since this build is heavily Magicka based, you pretty much need a little bit more recovery, just a little bit. And that's pretty much it for that. And oh, you should when you get the chance to try and work towards going to Cyrodiil so you can pick excuse me, so you can pick up Vigor and Guard. Those are two of the more important skills for if you really want to do trials one day, like Lorcage and Dragonstar Arena and Veteran Maelstrom Arena. Those are important since you'll bring more utility to the group. And some of the most important passives, the race passives. This class is a Nord, so I get the extra consumable drink duration, which doesn't really matter. Stalwart, very important. Max stam increased by 6% and health recovery by 20%. This goes in tandem with like Widow's Path, the set that I'm running. And the second one is increased max health and cult resistance. Cult resistance is okay in some certain situations. It's not very useful all the time, but it's pretty much the best thing in Direfrost Keep. And then Rugged, the most important skill on this whole class line, on the whole race class line, since it reduces all your damage taken. That's all mitigation against magic, physical, and even I guess Oblivion damage maybe. Oblivion damage doesn't really have any mitigations, but it reduces your damage taken by everything most likely. And also the last passive you should max out is Medicinal Use. This is one of the more important ones. It increases the duration of your potions, so they'll last longer, and it makes them more useful. So it'll pretty much keep you alive, because you always gonna need potions on hand, because your stamina isn't for example, your stamina isn't going to regen if you're blocking. That gets cut off. Let me show you. Block for a second. I guess it's not doing it now. There it is. Stamina recovery will get reduced to 0. You won't recover any stamina while you're blocking. And also, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I forgot to talk about the champion points. Like I said, I made this build specifically for new players, so that's why I don't have a monster set. But I'll show my champion points. I'm gonna start with the Lord Stone. I went 33 into quick recovery and 44 into Bastion, just for the damage shields and the healing. I went 33 into Warlord because you really need to break free, since you're taking all the hits when you get knocked out. I went 49,000 to Arcanist. I didn't need Mooncalves for 2 reasons. Nords already have high enough stamina recovery, and plus when I'm blocking I'm not going to be getting stamina back, so Arcanist was the obvious reason. And Tumbling for roll dodging, and the Treasure Hunter passive for obvious reasons. 18 in Tumbling and 58 in the Shadow War because I'm always blocking. That reduced cost always comes in handy. Oh, about that, you don't always have to block. You don't always have to block. You can block in certain intervals. Like when there's one enemy on you, you kind of understand their rotation of attack. You can take a few seconds and drop your block and just use debuffs. For example, Igneous Shield and Bone Shield at the same time. Because Igneous Shield will give you extra stamina, and Bone Shield will give you that extra mitigation so you don't get one-shotted or anything. But you most likely won't get one-shotted. The build is really tanky. I run 32 into Blessed. Well, I kind of spread this around since this is a Magicka-based build. I went highest points into Elemental Expert just for more fire damage and a little more magic damage. I went into Elfborn so I could get more crits on my healing. I use Bless for extra healing, not just myself but my whatever party I'm in. Spell Erosion for penetration, so that also goes in pairs with Elemental Expert because that negates armor, and it's not exactly a crit. It's more of a precision type of thing. It's a precision type of damage and healing type of thing with magics. I did have points in the Staff Expert, but I'm not going to talk about that. Master at Arms just for more damage, and Thaumaturg for those damage over times. I didn't run any points in Warrior. Since I'm not doing PvP, I'm not running any points in Warrior. Hardy, 43 in Hardy and 38 in Reduced Dam and Elemental Defender. But also I wanted to wipe this. Real quick. See, clear distribution. Now, I'm gonna show you how to set this up if you're just brand new to CP. Well, not brand new, but if you're exactly at 160 CP. Let me get my take on this. I don't really think you should be worrying about dungeons too much if you're not 160 CP. You should save that for later so you don't have to worry about all your gear pretty much being useless. So let's start here in the red tree. If you're a Dragon Knight, if you have most of your passives, you don't need to really worry about like this whole tree. I mean, you could run Spell Shield, but you already have a lot of spell resistance. Run more points into Elemental Defender. Well, let me say this. If you have 160 CP, you should have 53 points per tree. So I'm gonna do 10 in Elemental Defender, maybe 15. What's that? This is about 30 points just for have that. Put some points in Bastion. I got 35, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 1, 52, 53. I would have it around something like this. This will be enough to keep that keep those damage shields a little high. It's not super high, but it'll keep you up. Quick recovery. Oh, let me also tell you this. The numbers in this game, the percentages in this game rounds down, not up. For example, look at this. If you I have 16 points in quick recovery, it says 4.48%. It's not going to round up. It's going to round down to 4.40%. So keep an eye out for that. It's because of the balancing issues in the game. They tried to fix that. For Warlord, let's put about 20 points in Warlord. Uh, 5 points in Arcanist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's see, 20. Let's take some points out of there. 20 in Shadow Ward. 20 in, it says 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Let's take 1 point out of Arcanist. There we go. So that's 11.35 points in Shadow Wars. So you'll have some block mitigation. And now here, since you don't have to worry too much about dealing damage, since that's not going to be your job, I'd put some points in the Elfborn, maybe about 5%. Put enough points in the Bless so I can survive a little bit longer. Elemental Expert, Spell Erosion just a little bit. Okay, we got one more stat point to put in. Oh, put that right there. Take one out of Elfborn. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Put that right here. So that's 53 points allocated. So this is the beginning. In the beginning of this is 160 CP. If you have 166 P, 15 in Hardy, 15 Elemental Defender, 7 into Bastion, 16 in Recovery, 20 in Warlord, 7 in Arcanist, 26 in Shadow Ward, 19 in Blessed, 10 in Elfborn, 18 in Elemental Expert, 6 in Spell Erosion, and that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. And that's it, because I'm not gonna kill him.